Yes, y'all, we made it. This is fruition. Truly wonderful, man. This is a new year, 2026. We're going to kind of go off the cuff. We're going to go off the cuff a little bit. It was really just on the top of my mind just to do a short video, but we're gonna talk about New Year's resolutions, right? This is the time of the year where a lot of it's normal to have a motivation or be inspired by a new start or a fresh start. 2025 was what 2025 was to 2026 is the same as what 2024 was to 2025, if you catch my drift. The mindset has to be at the forefront, going into a newfound or a fresh start. It's not magic. It's not magic to to begin a, let's say, to begin eating healthier. It's not magic to begin your sober journey. It's not magic to begin working out or exercising daily. It's nothing magic to it. It's a mindset. Okay. We, speaking from personal experience, I mean, how many times have we, said, I'm about to get to it, whether it be, a new business, or whether it be, serious about, your health, whether it be serious about, just being more, on time, being more punctual. It all boils down to your mindset. I say this a lot. The mind is the real threat. How did you prepare? How did you prepare yourself to begin, this next chapter, this new version, this higher version of yourself? Okay, the New Year's resolution. It just seems, hey, let's do it we're gonna stop smoking on the first, right? The first of the year, January 1st, right? And when the motivation stops, or you feel less inspired, right? Or the first go around of the loop, this life loop I make reference to, and it's like, oh, things ain't going what I want to do, all that goes out the window. Come on, let's light up. Come on, let's just go to let's go to Popeyes. Let's go to so what? I'm late. I mean, the bus was late, and it's like you give yourself the permission to repeat the life's, for lack of better words, life's circle again. That's that same loop, and then next thing you know, you'll look up, it'll be 2027. Today, I'm not here to bang on anybody for a New Year's resolution. I support it, but let's kind of go off the cuff and what we really mean by a new Year's resolution, and what it means to what needs to occur for us to stick with it, even when we're not motivated or we're not inspired to do so. Okay. What are we really saying when we say my New Year's resolution? The way I understand it is, the New Year's resolution is, in layman's term, the reinvention of yourself. So again, it's no magic to when you reinvent your time or reinvent yourself be it the 1st of January or the 15th of March, right? The reinvention of yourself, it has to be taken into account. Like, this is the higher version of where I am now, okay? And in this version of myself, I see myself, imagine yourself walking in into a elevator with yourself, or or noticing yourself, having a conversation with someone, someone else. You don't have to know who it is, right? What is that version, or that reinvented version of yourself? What do they talk about? That conversation that looked like they was having, that was interesting. What was so interesting about it? They were talking to that newer version of you that you have yet stepped into, right? But that's the way you kind of got to think about, what you're reinventing yourself. Like, what does, when I leave this version of me, when someone leaves this version of me, what is the impression they have on me? What were we communicating? On what level, of business was we communicating? On what level of energy was exchanged there? Were we talking about, you know, clubbing and talking about the news, or were we talking about what's going on in this in on the social media rumors, or what's going on in politics? Or were we talking about, really coming up with a plan and sticking to a set schedule of routine about, how often, you work out, and how often you go to the store to prepare your meals for, this healthy endeavor that you began, years ago, so to speak. This is the reinvented version. So it's not so much of saying, we gonna do this or we do that. It is really taking the time out and sit in silence. And what does that version of me look like? Does that version of me still squeeze in the pants? Does that version of me still say curse words? Does that version of me still hold on to old excuses on why they believe that they failed at certain points in their life, being regarded as, in regards to their relationship, or, how far they went in higher education, or how far they went into the workforce, or if they ever, stepped out of the workforce to try to do anything on their own. What does that version, that reinvented version of yourself, what do they look like? What kind of presence do they hold in a room when they enter it? How do they greet people? How does that new reinvented version of yourself respond to negativity, or bad news, or anything for that, even good news? How do they respond to it? How would they look in a relationship? How do they communicate with their kids? How do they respond and interact with, their parents? How does that version treat the person taking their order at McDonald's? How does that version of that reinvented version treat the person at the grocery store, or the person outside the grocery store that needs some change because they're down on their luck? How does that version move about? How are they carrying it? Okay, so these things are a part of the process. These things are a part of the process in creating and building what it is that you that the version of yourself that's there, that just not has yet been stepped into, you're becoming. Okay, because if you can see it and you can really if you can really think about it, say, oh, you know, you can really pinpoint the areas where you really have to really change in order to grow, and the areas you have to adjust to meet the requirements to be that individual. And then you can become, and you become by manifesting the internal version of yourself, that the one that you mirror from your mind, and you're going to manifest that in the physical, in the light. Okay. Yeah. And that's one part of the process, and it's no magic to it. It's no magic to it. I want to repeat that this is not a magical. This isn't by accident. This isn't just, asking the sky for something and it's going to drop it out the sky. This is a mechanic. This is a system. We're going to go through the system, and the system, what you put into the bank, you'll be able to withdraw from the bank. And you might not be able to withdraw everything that you put into the bank, but you're not going to withdraw anything from the bank that you did not put in. And I hope I said that right. You can't expect to pull anything out that you didn't put in. Even though you might put in so much, or whatever you put in, you might not be able to withdraw it all, but you'll be able to withdraw something. So that brings me to my next point. And we just gonna flow with it, like kind of, off the cuff. Like your habits is the deal breaker. Our habits, clean that up. Our habits is the deal breaker. If the first chance I get after my New Year's resolution is when I get off work, I'm gonna go grab a carton of cigarettes, and I'm gonna go to the after hours, and I'm gonna do, what's the thing called, happy hours, right? And I'm gonna smoke, and we're gonna talk about sports, and we're gonna talk about, what the government is doing, and the old boss, and this, that, and the third. If that's what I'm gonna do, the first attempt, when I get bored, not even when I be met with something that is, just when I'm bored. If that's what I'm gonna do, then there is no manifestation that has happened, because you're caught up in the loop that you're used to, that you're comfortable in, and you're comfortable with being a part of that group that does the happy hour. And I'm not, this is not no slight to anybody. The point I'm making is, if the resolution was to get healthy, and by to get healthy, we're going to beat the sun up, and we're going to go to the fitness club, and we're going to eat a certain way, and we're going to be early. The first time we get bored with that, if we go back to the happy hour, that those two things are the opposite ends of the polarity. Oh, right. And the habits is the deal breaker. It's going to make you or break you, the habits. All right. To break myself, let's say, okay, if we got January 1st, 2026 today. In 21 days, I remember it was put to me long ago. In 21 days, whatever you do, you really done changed your old habit. You done created a new rhythm, or created a new habit. Not saying it's permanent. You can change it at will. You can drop habits at will. But if today, by the 21st, you would have created a habit, you didn't want more than half of a calendar month, right? And to a new cycle with a new routine. Make your I don't want to say goal, make your habits that you want to develop a rhythm, make it easier. There's a book called The Atomic Habits. I encourage everybody to get, right. And in that book, it was talking about just how to make different habits easier for yourself. I'm gonna use the example because I want to say, like, the health, getting your health on has many benefits, in the gym and outside of it, just, psychologically, right? If you tell your time what to do, right, and you're not just going to go off freestyling for hours and hours of the week, not knowing, doing nothing, or scrolling on these devices, right, watching other people get to it, right, then you know that out of 7 days a week, if you can put 30 minutes to an hour for yourself just to exercise and maintain your goal, then that is actionable. Okay, you're putting a plan in the system into getting yourself into being a healthier version of the reinvented version of yourself. Okay, now let's say that's going to be a habit. You're going to dedicate an hour from your phone, and you're going to dedicate that to this goal of being a better version of yourself, right? Now, to stack on top of that habit, you're going to say, I'm not going to make the reward in it. I'm not going to scroll or log into my Instagram or to my Facebook, to my TikTok until after my gym session is over. Okay, now that's a little trick that you didn't taught yourself, that for me to reward myself, to have any social media time, then I must first complete my gym session, my hour, right? And then you say, okay, to add on to that, the first thing that you usually do is on a wake up is grab your phone and check on your phone, right? So you can stack that habit and say, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my hour not only is before I get on social media, my hour a day is going to be before my day even gets started. So that way, when I'm at work and I want to, take your break to get on your social media or whatever, I already fulfilled my commitment for that day, right? So now you set your gym day to begin before work. Okay, so now that's 3 habits you done stacked. Okay, and to repeat it. Now you choose the gym and have the gym on your way to the workplace, right? That's another stack. You stacked another habit, right? So now you built a system that is actionable. Something you made it so easy for yourself to be able to fulfill it. You didn't make it harder, because the things that takes a lot of thought and a lot of, I don't want to say inconveniences, but if it takes too much, we kind of find a way to deviate from that plan. So all your actionable plans are so reasonable and so in arm's length that you built a system, you thought a system out, and you created that play. Then from creating that play, you needed to develop a rhythm and develop a flow state with it. That's where it becomes a routine, or better said, that's when it becomes a habit. See, because a habit is something you do second nature. It's like you're not even thinking about it. You're not even thinking about, putting anything else on, because your gym shoes is right next to the, that your gym clothes is already, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, so, just to touch on that, man, and I always want to put the health on, health is more than just physical health, mental health, spiritual health. That is gotta be the That's the most important. That's the most important thing, you know, in the world. More important than the Lex. More important than the Cadillac. You know. You know, would you rather have $1 million in bad health, or you know, a lot of years in good health? You know what I'm saying? So that's that's where that's where I'm at with it, man. But yeah, just that you have to not banging on the resolutions, not banging on, not banging on. Definitely not banging on New Year's resolution. It's a good energy. It's a good vibe, but let's structure it and where it carry us, where it will carry us when you're not feeling motivated, when you're not feeling inspired, right? Let's eliminate some of the scrolling on the things in the accounts that really doesn't have a positive reinforcement of that higher version of that self that you reinvented to, right? So that person can't be looking at a whole bunch of fighting and things on the scrolls. I might need to unsubscribe to that. Be careful what you subscribe to. This thing is turned up and it's fast on 2026. And what do you do when you fall short or you get shortcomings? Let's address that. What does that higher version of yourself, that higher version that you haven't even became yet, how do they respond to shortcomings when they fall short, or they slip up, whether they relapse? How does that version tighten themselves up, pull themselves back up? How do they respond to situations of less fortunate situations? What light do they bring in the time of need? How do they shake it and get back to it? Think about these things. That's part of your resolution, and begin to manifest that version of yourself from that vision, if you know what I mean. So when you're not looking at it, you don't have the idea of that as far as lack, or that's not who I am. You got to bring it. You bring it like that. You got to bring it like that every time you show up, every time your eyes wake up. That's what manifests. That's what manifesting is. It's not nothing outside of self that you're reaching or you have to touch outside of self. It's becoming the self that you already created, mentally, and not wavering from that version. It's all right when you're going to forget sometime. You're going to slip up and you'll say, "Oh, I don't do that no more. Oh, I don't even talk like that no more." And bring it back. But yeah, it's truly wonderful, man. I hope everybody have a great everything, man. Happy New Year. Every day's a holiday, and I you gotta carry it like that. Every day's a holiday, man. It's a holiday style. Man. I'm Drew, man. This is Fruition. Peace.